Okay. So if you're just coming on for today, 2 blocks, hopefully matching sizes if you got them. And we're starting off in Makarasana, the crocodile pose. So we're lying on our bellies, forearms are stacked, and if it's comfortable, your forehead is on your forearms. If that isn't comfortable, you can always slide your arms forward a little bit on the floor and come down onto your cheek. For the lower body, you can have the legs rotated open, so you're resting on your inner thighs, inner knees, inner ankles. Again, if that doesn't work well, just be on the tops of your feet, have your legs neutral. Okay, so set up your position. And then when you feel comfortable there, you can let your eyes close and your body become still. And bringing awareness now inside of the body and just noticing what you're feeling through your shoulders and your neck. Noticing the muscles in your face, your hands and feet, and your abdomen. So just kind of taking stock of sensations, tensions in the body. And see if you can start to release the weight of your body to the floor. So there might be a sense of sinking in, of maybe the shoulders softening, of the head becoming more heavy on the arms. And then shift your awareness to the movement of breath in the abdomen. And taking a nice long inhalation, feel your belly start to press down into the floor. And there's a sense that we're kind of rising. And then a nice long exhalation with a sense of settling. Good. So no hurrying, but just starting to ease yourself into diaphragmatic breathing. And at first, it might be a little jagged. There might be some jerks or pauses in the breath. Continuing to be still. Continuing to relax the body and just letting the breath settle. And as we move towards an even breath, we're going to try counting the inhalation. So when you're ready, on your next inhalation, just count in your own head how many counts it takes to fill your lungs. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, whatever number you get to, and then see if you can match the exhalation to that same count. So it takes 4 to fill, take 4 to empty. It takes 5, it takes 6. And we're just matching the inhalation and the exhalation. And now see if you can direct that breath as you're counting from your nostrils to your navel. So as you inhale, 2, 3, 4, you're drawing the inhale through the nose down into the belly. And as you're exhaling, exhale, 2, 3, 4, you're following the breath up from the navel and out through the nose. Okay, so just becoming aware of this pathway between the points of the nostrils and of the navel center. And if this is starting to flow well, see if you can add 1 count and move from your nostrils to your pelvic center. So if you're counting 4 at this point, see if you can add and come to 5 and breathe down to the space between the hips. Exhaling 1 count longer from the space between the hips, the pelvic center, up and out through the nose. And just try this for a few breaths. And if this starts to become easy, see if you can add one more count and move your inhalation all the way down to the root center, so to the pelvic floor. So if you've been counting 5, go up to 6. If you've been counting 7, so you can go up to 8. Inhale your count from the nostrils down to the pelvic floor. Inhale your count up from the pelvic floor and out through the nostrils. And again, we'll do this for just a couple breaths. And at the bottom of your next exhale, we're going to come up onto our forearms. So if your legs are rotated open, come back to neutral. So the ankles are in line with the knees that are in line with the hips, and we're on the tops of the feet. And then we're going to bring the forearms parallel, and we'll be up on our elbows. So elbows are in line with shoulders. And very slowly, let's start to bring the chin towards the chest. So just as if you were looking at your own navel. And we're releasing the weight of the head and drawing the chin in towards the throat center. Then, so just stay here with maybe a little bit of pressure. Noticing sensations arising in the back of the neck, in the upper back. And then roll your right ear towards your right shoulder. Chin back to the chest. And roll the left ear towards the left shoulder and back to the chest. Good. So keep making these little half circles, nice and soft. And then the next time the chin is down by the chest, we're going to bring our gaze forward. And from here, we're going to walk into a side bend. So imagine that your pelvis is glued to the floor, pelvis cannot move, and just start to walk your hands, your head and your shoulders to the right. Good. So walk as far as you can without moving your hips, and then rest on your left ear with your left arm just framing the head. Good. And in the side stretch position now, bringing your awareness of breath into the left side body. And we're filling the side of the waist, the side of the rib cage, and up into the shoulder joint. So take about 5 long breaths here. And a few classes ago, we talked about the Ujjayi breath or ocean breath. And if you'd like to do that here, this is a good place for an Ujjayi breath. Just means we're constricting the throat a little bit and listening to our own breath. Okay, come up onto your hands and let's start to walk the body through center and as far as we can now to the left without shifting the pelvis. We're going to be resting on the right cheek with the right arm framing the head. And in this position, again, if you like, bringing in the ocean or Ujjayi breath. And as you're breathing here, deeply relax your lower back, allowing the navel and the sacrum to settle. Yeah, coming back up onto the hands, walk yourself back to your neutral position. And we're going to come back into an open leg child's pose. So the palms of the hands are on either side of the rib cage. We'll press up through table. Once in table, big toes touch, knees step open, and the sit bones glide back towards the heels. And so if it's okay, coming down to your forehead, and then maybe walking your hands away from your body to lengthen the back. It might feel good to kind of rock your hips right and left. And then walk your hands back towards your body. And we're gonna come up to seated. If you kneel successfully, this is a good place to kneel. So that's a nice stretch for the tops of the ankles. I don't kneel for long well, so I'm gonna use my bench. You could bring a cushion inside your knee joints if that's helpful, or come to easy pose, cross-legged. Okay, so come to some way that you sit that is comfortable. And we'll sit up nice and tall through the center line of the body, bringing the shoulders up to the ears and back and down and forward. So to start some nice, easy shoulder circles. Good. And loosening up shoulder joints, relaxing through elbows, through wrists and hands. And fingertips now come to the shoulders. We'll bring our elbows close in front. And as you inhale, the elbows come up and back. Exhale, down and through. Okay, so let's do about 5, just like this. And exhale. And take your time, see if you can match how you're breathing. And elbows back and arms down. Okay, shake it out a little bit. And we're going to interlace the fingers now, bring the hands over the crown, and flip your palms up towards the ceiling. And now as you inhale, press up through the palms. And then exhale and settle. And again, 5 breaths. Inhale, stretch up, keep your neck long, and settle. Good. And last one, inhale, press up, and exhale, release down. Good. Again, shake out your arms a little bit. And we're going to interlace the fingers now and bring the hands underneath the chin. And we will kind of roll our body forward, keep the elbows closed. And now as you inhale, bring the breath down into the abdomen. And as the belly starts to fill, start to sit up. And then start to fill the chest. Elbows are lifting, lungs are full, eyes are on the ceiling. And then exhaling, emptying the chest. Emptying the belly, elbows are closing, and we're squeezing the navel in, rolling forward. So keep going again. There'll be a total of 5 breaths, so let's take 4 more. This is complete breath. Belly fills, chest fills, front of the spine opens. And then as you exhale, rolling forward, emptying. Good. Just a gentle movement along the spine. Good. And let's take 2 more, just like that. And we're going to end in the place where you're rolled forward. So you can take your hands away, sit up tall, but keep your head dropped. And let's just take our fingertips to the back of the neck. And feeling those two rope-like muscles on either side of the vertebra, we're going to draw some circles there, or maybe drag the fingers up and down. So just working any tension out of the back of the neck. Maybe pinching where the neck and shoulders meet. And as you're doing this, you might try opening and closing your teeth. Maybe bringing the chin right and left a little bit, so loosening up the jaw. Good. And then also taking your fingers along the base of the skull. So if you feel back here in the back of your head, there's that bony ridge that travels out behind your ear. And let's draw some circles there. So we're right behind the ears. And then start to work your way back in towards center. And when you're done, you can take your hands away. So however you've chosen to sit right now, let's all come into staff pose. So if you can sit in the letter L and it's comfortable, you can be right down on your floor. If the backs of the legs feel really tight, you might have a little cushion or something under your sit bones. So maybe propping up with a blanket or something thin. Okay. And we're going to just take your hands, you can rest them on your thighs or next to you. And we're going to flex the feet, press through the heels, spread your toes. And then point your toes. Good. And spread, flex, and point. And you might need to space your heels just a little bit more. Let's roll ankle joints. So big toes are drawing circles up on the ceiling. And that in both directions. And we'll do a fancier version of toe pointing. So flex your toes, bend your ankles, press through your heels. And now see if you can keep your toes spread just like they are and straighten your ankles. And now point your toes. So keep your ankles straight, flex your toes, and now bend your ankles. Okay, let's do this 2 more times. Toes are spread, straighten your ankles, point your toes. Spread your toes, bend your ankles. Keep your toes spread, straighten your ankles, point your toes. Spread your toes, bend your ankles. And relax the legs. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be rolling the legs, and it's going to be originating at the hip joints. So sitting as you are now, see if you can roll your thighs open so your little toes are moving down towards the floor. Okay, again, if your back is tired, you can kind of lean into your hands, and little toes are pressing. They might touch, they might not. So no worries. And then roll back to center. And now see if you can roll inward. So your 2 big toes try to touch one another. Good. Hold. And roll open, little toes towards the floor. Good. If they're touching, press the little toes down into the floor. If they're not, press towards the floor. And roll in, big toes try to touch. Yeah, one more time, roll open, and just notice it's the whole leg. So you're looking down now at your inner knees and your ankles. And then roll in, big toes touch. Good. And then relax. Bend the knees, bring the soles of the feet to the floor, and we'll just rock the knees from side to side. And we're going to get ready for some seated leg cradles. So we do these on our back all the time. And let's try it seated. Good. So legs are at neutral, and we're going to reach down and pick up the right ankle and place it above the left knee. If you can, have a little flex in your right foot. And then you can adjust this for your right hip. So if it's really tight, I'm going to lean back. If I want a little bit more, I'm going to press my chest towards my foot. Okay, so where you kind of end up will determine how intense the stretch is. Okay, stay here for about 5 counts. Good. Back off a little bit. We'll do it one more time, so you can do it just as you did now, or we could try picking up the low leg. So to do that, we're going to scoop underneath, and your heel will be in the crux of your left elbow, and your knee will be in the crux of your right elbow, and you can pick up your leg. So if that works, you can rock. It's like rocking a baby. If this is too much, lifting the leg up, keep it on your knee, no problem. And with this little rocking motion, getting down into the right sit bone. Good. And then let's switch sides. So for just a moment, bring the right leg out straight and kind of shake it out a little bit. Feet are in neutral. Let's pick up the left ankle, place the left ankle above the right knee. Again, if we can, there's a little flex in the foot. And then adjusting the position of your upper body. So back for a little less and forward for a little more. As best you can, keep your spine straight so we're not rounded over the leg. Tall. And allow awareness to go into the sensation. And these positions are pretty intense. And back off, rest a little bit. And we'll go back in for another 5 counts. Again, you can be in this exact same position if it worked well, or if you want to pick up the low leg, let's come underneath, scoop it up, and rock it. And just keeping the sit bones grounded, stay balanced. So try not to lean to one side. Right, you stay right in the center. All right. And then release. Let's bring the leg long on the floor. Again, shake it out a little bit. And we're going to bring both legs straight now and separate our heels. So here I might need to lift up and come up onto my sit bones. All right, so pelvis is straight to the floor. And we'll do some brushing, right fingertips towards the inner left ankle and left fingertips towards the inner right ankle. Again, as best we can, keeping the back straight so we're not hunched over. We're nice and tall. Maybe they're smaller brushes. And we'll brush now forward and back. So up the center line and back. And we're going to take this into a forward bend. So if you would like a support for that, grab it now. A good one could be a bolster going straight out from the center. Blocks can be useful. So whatever you got. And we're going to start to tip the pelvis forward. So again, I'm keeping the root and the crown in alignment, tipping just to hip joints. And it might take an inch, right? But follow until you find your edge. And when you get to that place, you can stay tall. Or you can round your head and shoulders. Again, so there are lots of ways to support yourself. You could have your elbows down and rest your head in your hands. If you have bolsters or blocks, you could take your 2 fists, stack your fists, and rest your forehead on your fists. So I'm going to leave you here for a little bit. We're going to try to be in this position for about 3 minutes. So be in a place where it's not too much. And if you want a little bit more from it, have your legs awake. So your big toes are pointing up at the ceiling and there's a little flex in your toes. And that'll just extend the stretch down into the low legs and feet. Good. And find your breathing. And holding that flex in your feet, after a while, it might get a little tiring. Let your feet go soft. Let your upper body be heavy. And maybe if everything's okay, you can drop in a little more. We're going to stay for 10 more breaths. And if you'd like to make those breaths, again, ujjayi or ocean breaths, you can start to constrict your throat. Listen to your breath. And if you make your upper body really soft, you might feel how the inhalation lifts you a little bit and the exhalation drops you a little bit. Okay, so we think of our ujjayi breath as an ocean breath. We can ride the wave of that breath. Find the inhalation like a wave that lifts, and the exhalation drops us. If you're rounded in this position, now lift your head and shoulders and come back to a neutral spine. And let's very slowly start to walk the hands back towards the body. Bring ourselves back upright. The legs might need a little help, so you can use your hands to move back into your staff pose. Bend your knees, feet are on the floor, and again, we're going to fan the knees. So lean back into your hands. And because you've been still for a long time, start slowly. And just drop side to side. So after a long hold posture, the counter posture has to be slow, all right, as we get everything moving. When this is good, we'll drop the knees to the right and bring the left arm across the body. Look over the right shoulder. Back to neutral. When the knees drop left, the right arm comes across the body. Look over the left shoulder. Okay, and continue. So if the twist part feels good and you want to stay there for a couple breaths, you can certainly do that. And maybe one more time to each side. And when we're back in center, we're going to move into butterfly. So a variation of butterfly you could try, see if you like it, is to use a block. So if you come to the place where you normally do this posture, all right, place your feet, and then take the block and you're going to put it maybe halfway out in front of that. So maybe if you see where the arches of your feet are, that's where the block will start. So it's a long-legged butterfly. Your feet are a little further away than usual. And you can try placing your 2 feet up on the block. From there, we're going to draw forward. And so this just gets into those groin muscles a little more. Again, you can keep your back straight or you can round over. And if you don't like the block, you don't have to keep it, right? It's something to try. It's a variation. If it's not good, just pull the block out. And we'll stay here for 10 breaths. Relax any tension in your body. All right, sometimes in these positions we brace ourselves, so look for bracing. 2 more breaths. If your back is rounded, come to a neutral spine. And let's all start to walk ourselves back up. You can place the block over to the side. And we'll move into table position. So coming onto hands and knees. And when you're here, start to lift your sit bones up to the ceiling, release your belly, release your chest, look forward. And then drop the sit bones towards the back of the knees, start to arch up along the spine. Hands press into the floor, head drops. Good. Moving slowly through cat and cow. And next time the spine is at neutral, let's take the hands 1 step forward and roll the whole pelvis. So drop your hips forward, pull out to the side and back, other side and forward. We'll do about 3 big circles in each direction. So switch when you're ready. And then you can start to walk your hands back towards your body. We're going to go up into down dog, but I'm going to show you something that's kind of fun, and you may have done this before. It's using your blocks for your hands. So if you place your 2 blocks out in front of you, you can try a couple different ways of putting your hands on the block. For me, I like my thumbs on the short end. So I'm like this. And my thumb is down here. Okay. So try bringing your hands down on your blocks and then your toes under and lift up into your down dog. Yeah, so hopefully you're on a mat where your blocks aren't sliding. And then once you're up here, you can do your usual pedaling or lifting up on your toes or pressing the blocks away. So that's one variation. Another is have your thumbs on the inside of the blocks. For me, that closes my shoulders a little bit, so I like this more open hand, but whatever works. Good. And maybe we can rock forward and pull back a couple times. Yeah, so just giving yourself a nice full body stretch, seeing what it's like with blocks. And it might give you a little more room. And when you've taken that full body stretch, we'll come back down to our knees and we're going to go all the way onto our abdomen. So the blocks can come to the side. And we'll be down on our forehead with the arms alongside. So take a moment here to relax, and we're going to be moving into our boat pose. On your next exhalation, let's press the pelvis down into the floor. Firm the glutes a little bit and lift your legs. And then lift your head and shoulders. First go around, you can keep the hands down. Good. And then come down and rest on your right cheek. And forehead. And once again, press down into the floor, lift the legs, lift the head and shoulders, and maybe this time the arms. And then come down onto the left cheek. Do that 2 more times. So again, rest on your forehead. As you exhale, ground to the body, legs lift, head and shoulders lift, arms lift. Take a breath or 2 and then come back down, right cheek. And forehead. Exhale and ground and lift. Reach behind you. And come down, left cheek. Good. And rest the body for a bit. And then we're going to stack the forearms. So we'll come back to our crocodile arms. So one forearm on top of the other. And let's bend at the knees. Good. Flex your toes. And we're going to try lifting one leg at a time. So again, when you exhale, firm the buttocks, ground the pelvis, and just see how high you can lift your left knee. And bring it down. Lift the right knee. And bring it down. And the left knee. And bring it down. Good. So just like you're walking up on the ceiling, lifting opposite thighs. And then relax your effort, point your toes, and let's windshield wiper the low legs. And we're thinking again about child's pose, and you can choose either the standard variation with the legs closed or the open legged version, whichever is better. So lowering the legs down to the floor on top of the kneecaps and on top of the feet. Hands are on either side of the rib cage. Press up through table. Sit bones back, child's pose. Good. So whichever version of child's pose you've chosen, breathe into your lower back. And long, deep breaths filling and emptying the lower back. And then you can walk your hands back towards your body, and we're going to stand up. So let's make our way up onto our feet. And once up on your feet, check that your ankles are underneath your hip joints. And we'll make some soft fists. And let's bring elbows back, arms straight. And we don't want to pushing ourselves around, so relax your arms. And then let's step a little bit further and twist. Eyes stay forward. Good, arms flail. Back cracks. There's an added bonus. And then when you're ready, let's find our block. So now you'll just need one. And we're going to place the block down on the floor in front of us. Okay, and let's take a wider stance. So step your legs open, not too wide. And we'll rotate the thighs open just a little bit so toes are looking off if you're on a long mat towards the corners. We're going to interlace the fingers and place the hands on the sacrum. And now as you inhale, tip towards your block. And then bend your knees, exhale, and tip back up. So let's keep going for 5 repetitions. As best you can, keep the root and crown in a line. So shoulder blades stay together, back stays neutral. And you can decide how much to drop into your knees. Yeah, I give this disclaimer with all squatting. I'm only bending my knees a little bit. If your knees are healthy and happy, you can definitely scoop, drop your pelvis much lower. So keep moving with it. And the next time that you're standing upright, you're going to start to straighten your elbows and press your hands down towards the floor. Lift your heart to the ceiling. Lift your eyes to the ceiling and let your shoulders roll back. And be aware of the space of your throat chakra. So right at the base of your neck. And take about 3 deep breaths there. And then relax your elbows, relax your shoulders, and bring your eyes forward. Take a moment. And then again, let's tip forward. We're looking down at that block and bend your knees. Bring the heels of your hands to the block. Okay, good. And then from here, see if you can straighten your knees a little bit or a lot, depends on your body, but we're slowly coming up to straighter knees. And then you can put a little weight into your heels and we're going to rotate the thighs in. So I have hands on the block. There's weight in the heels of my hands. I'm back on the heels of my feet. And I'm going to see what happens when I rotate my thighs inward. Okay, so now my toes are looking at each other, kind of like what we were playing with in a staff pose, right? And we call this being pigeon-toed, or there's a word for it in skiing. I keep forgetting. Someone can remind me for when you walk and ski so you don't fall, right? And from here, again, keep some weight in your block. Just let the head and shoulders fall. Okay. And we're using the weight of the head, the weight of the shoulders for traction, lengthening the spine. Again, if dropping your head isn't good for you, you can keep your root and crown in an alignment, right? Keep your head lifted a bit. Otherwise, you can round and dangle. And then we're going to try a little bit of a flow here. So if you need the block, that's great. Keep the block here. If you don't really need the block, and I know some of you might not, you can place it over to the side. And then just the fingertips or the hands are on the floor. We're going to press down into the floor or the block. Bend your knees, start to rotate your thighs back open. So you're back in your squatting legs. And then lift your upper body just like a chair pose. And so it's kind of a squatting goddess. And then from here, we're going to drop back in. Hands come back to the floor or the block. As soon as they touch and there's weight in them, straighten your knees, rotate your thighs open, and drop your head. So we're back to our forward fold. Press down into your hands. Thighs rotate open, knees bend, squatting legs, and arms lift. And again, bow forward, hands to the floor. When the hands touch, knees straighten, thighs rotate in, head releases. Okay, we're going to do this 2 more times. Press into your hands, rotate your thighs open, bend your knees, squatting legs, and lift. And then bow and touch, straighten, rotate inward, release. One more. Press in, rotate open, knees bend, arms lift. And bow forward, back to forward fold. Hands touch, toes in, knees straighten, release. Okay, stay here for just a few breaths. And then press into your hands, come back to those squatting legs. Interlace your fingers on the sacrum. And tip, tip, tip. Let's come back to standing. Step together and walk. Okay. Reset everything. All right, and now standing back in our mountain position. Hands are on the hips. Let's bend the knees. Okay, so hopefully this feels good in your ankles, heels. And come up. Once again, bend your knees, and this time let's bring our sit bones back. So we're coming back into a chair position. And we're going to bring the arms behind us. Good. As you inhale now, bring the arms forward, and we're starting to stand up, and we're lifting up onto our toes. And then as you exhale, heels lower, knees bend, sit bones back, and reach behind. Good. So keep going at a rate that feels good to you. The inhalation has us standing and then lifting up onto toes. You might stay here for a moment. And the exhalation has us coming back, heels down, sit bones back, and reach behind. And so do something like 3 more. Our motto is don't hurry. So take your time and just watch all the kind of amazing things that your body is doing. Move from one position to another. So keep flowing along, and next time you're in your downhill skiing position, we're going to stay here for 3 breaths. Good. Transition up onto your toes, slow. And again, we'll stay here for about 3 breaths. Steady, steady. And then heels down, arms down, step a little wider, and twist. All right, we'll do some windmills. Let's do some windmills. So again, let's find that block. And the block is out in front of us. Take a stance now that's not as wide as last time, but still a little bit wider than hip distance. Again, interlace your fingers, place them on the sacrum, and then tip from your hip joints out over your block. And when you get to the place where your body stops, bend your knees and bring the heels of the hands to the block. Okay, from here, adjust how much your knees can straighten. Maybe they stay quite bent, that's fine. Or maybe we can come up to straight. We'll take the left hand now and feed it into the lower back. Let your belly turn left, your chest turn left. And then if you're comfortable, the left arm can lift towards the ceiling. And then come back to your block. Good. And now the right hand feeds into the lower back. Belly turns right, chest turns right. Maybe right arm lifts to the ceiling. and come back to your block. Yeah, let's do it one more time on each side. Left arm, low back. Rotate left and lift the arm. Yeah. And try not to sink down into your block. You're pushing the block away, nice and tall, like through your joints. And back to the block. And feeding the right arm in now. Opening to the right. And lift. Shoulders to the ears. And back and down. Okay, step back to neutral. You gotta walk around a little bit. Then you can move your block off to the side. We're going to do a round of either Agnisara or abdominal lift. Okay, so whichever practice is better for you. We'll bend down into the knees, bring the hands above the knees. Thumbs might be in or out, depending on what works better. Good. And before you start, always relax. So feeling your lower back lengthen. Take a nice big inhalation, and then as you exhale, lift and squeeze, pelvic floor, low abdomen, navel. Inhale, release, navel, low abdomen, pelvic floor. Have a goal of between 8 and 10. And just focusing on drawing up, squeezing in on your exhale, and a soft release from navel to root on the inhale. And when you've done between 8 and 10, you can come back to your mountain pose and rest. And for our final posture, I would like to do something that brings your legs up in the air. So an inverted action pose, a propped pelvis, whatever position is most comfortable for you. Okay, so if you're going to use a support, a block is good or a bolster is good. You can also bring your legs up against a wall, but I know at home, at least at my house, there's no empty walls. So if you're using a bolster or a block, make sure it supports the sacrum. It's right on the back of your pelvis. Okay. If you're doing inverted action pose, the palms support the pelvis. And let's have the goal of getting those legs up in the air for about 2 minutes. Okay, so super good for circulation. And once you're in your supported inverted action pose or the pose itself, feel free to move a little bit. So if you want to wiggle your toes or move your ankles, you can do that. You might bring your legs straight. Yeah, you practice bending and straightening the knees. Or butterfly. or crossing the legs. Or you can just be still. And just allowing energy to move up into the head, shoulders. Yeah, find your breath. And if you're using your arms to support the pelvis rather than a prop, just check in with your elbows and your wrists that they're not tensing. And let's be here for about 10 more breaths. Again, you can come down sooner if need be. Otherwise, for about 10 more breaths, legs are in the air. When it's time to come down, nice and slow, bring your feet back to the floor. Again, if you're on a prop, let's take the prop out and roll the low back down. And then we'll transition into a wind reliever. So draw your thighs in towards your belly. Let's rock the low back. And so after an inversion, it's nice to open up the chest a little bit. So especially if you were holding your body in the air. So we're going to do a supported fish to close. The supported fish, we're going to use the block. And if you have a blanket handy, the block is pretty hard. So you can put either a towel or a blanket over the block to soften it up a little bit. It's going to go between your shoulder blades. Okay. And fish pose, if you know fish pose, it's pretty strong, right? I like it much better supported, but it's still strong. Okay. So the block will be right between your shoulder blades. It'll start at the bottom, so right at your bra strap. And the head is going to be dropped back. So for some of us, our heads hit the floor when we do that and supported. For those of you whose head is dangling, if it's uncomfortable, you might want a little cushion or a blanket. So if you want to see this before you go there, if you haven't done it before, I might have this here just in case. This is a tall block. And I'm going to find that place where my shoulder blades start. And when I got it, I'm going to lay it over the block. And okay, on this particular day, my head's touching, so I'm just here. Sometimes if we have a taller block or if we're feeling a little tighter, we might be dangling. And then I might grab that blanket and support my head. Okay, because the head hanging back like that can be amusing. Okay. And then once you're there, we're only going to stay for 5 breaths. And you might really focus on your heart center. Taking 5 big breaths into the heart. And if you are feeling that the edges of the block are a little bit uncomfortable, it's okay usually for 5 breaths. If you want to do this a little longer, it's nice to pat the block. When you've taken your 5 breaths, we can press down into our elbows and come on up off the block. Press it. Block over to the side now, and we'll get ready for relaxation. Okay. So as you're ready now, set up your space. You already have a cushion for your head. That's great. Your back is tired. A bolster under your knees is very supportive for the back. And so make your fine adjustments to Shavasana, maybe pressing into the elbows, walking your shoulder blades underneath you, resting on the backs of the hands. And when you feel comfortable, your eyes close. Relax your body from your head down to your toes and out into your fingertips. Soften your face and your shoulders. Relax your lower back. Soften your belly, and for a few breaths now, watch the inhalation fill you and the exhalation empty you. Deeply soften your hands and your feet. Soften the space around your eyes. Release your jaw. And follow the inhalation as it fills you and the exhalation as it empties you. So we're going to do a 61 points practice now, which is a pranic body relaxation. And most of the time we do this with a visualization of a blue point of light. What we're going to do today that's a little different is we're going to use the Soham mantra. So there are variations of 61 points that use a different focus. In the beginning, it could just be numbers. You can count your points. You can use the blue light. You can use mantra. So focus now on your eyebrow center. And as you inhale into the eyebrow center here, so exhale from the eyebrow center. Throat center. So exhale. Good. So for each point now, inhale so into the point. Exhale, hum from the point. Right shoulder. Right inner elbow. Right inner wrist. Tip of the thumb. Second finger. middle finger, ring finger, little finger, inside the wrist, inside the elbow, the right shoulder, the throat center, the left shoulder, left inner elbow, left wrist, point of the thumb, pointer finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger, inside the left wrist, inside the left elbow, the left shoulder, the throat center, the heart center. Inhale, so into your heart. Exhale, hum from your heart. And then the right side of the chest. The heart center. The left side of the chest. The heart center. The navel center. The pelvic center. Right hip joint. Right knee. Right ankle. Big toe. Second toe. Middle toe. The fourth toe. The little toe.
ankle, right knee joint, right hip joint, pelvic center, left hip joint, the knee joint, the left ankle joint, the tip of the big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, little toe, the ankle, the knee, the hip joint, the pelvic center, the navel center, the heart center, the throat, the eyebrow center. And now you can see your body covered in all these points and maybe a grid of lines connecting all those points. Every point in your body inhales, so, and exhales, hum, so, yeah, so as best you can, feel all 61 points. And breathe the points together with the sound of your mantra. And you can start to let the mantra go. Awareness of the points go. And just move into a gentle breath. And just rest and breathe for a few minutes, or a few breaths, I should say.
And then start to slowly make your way up to your seated position. And just sitting for a few moments, resting in your body. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Bring your cupped hands over your eyes and allow the eyes to open. Feel your awareness drawn back into your room. And we can take the hands away. And thank you so much for joining me. Hope you have a beautiful weekend. It's rainy, but a little bit warm, so good stuff. Namaste. Thank you. Yeah, have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, Tracy. Good weekend to you too.
My pleasure. Good to see y'all.